Let's explore what a morphology version is and how it is useful in your study of Hebrew and Greek texts. First, let's take a look at our Hebrew and Greek versions under Search. Choose Search Version. Under Hebrew, we see a number of Hebrew versions, many with similar names that indicate both text and morphology. For example, the WTT Leningrad Hebrew Old Testament has close to it the WTM Westminster Hebrew OT Morphology. We see this also with Greek texts, as many of the versions there have both a Greek and morphology version. Most Hebrew and Greek versions have a corresponding brother version, which is called a morphology version. We call the version for reading a text version, and the version used for searching a morphology version. Morphology versions often have a version abbreviation that ends in the letter M, and typically have a similar name to the text version that they represent. When you choose a morphology version as your search version, it is added to the Browse window. And remember that you can always check your search version by viewing the Command Line Versions button. It is the leftmost version, the Browse window header, and the status bar. For purposes of illustration, I'm going to hide the Analysis window. Think of a morphology version as a Bible version for your computer to read. It corresponds to its brother text version, but every word in the original Greek or Hebrew version has been translated into its lexical form, or what we call lemma, a separator character, which is the @ sign for Greek or Hebrew. It is the % sign for Aramaic, and then codes that specify the parsing of the inflected form of the lemma that occurs in the actual text. Both the lemma and the codes are actually two halves of the same word in a morphology version. Let's bring the Analysis window back. It is the morphology version that allows us to mouse over a Greek or Hebrew word, and BibleWorks will instantly present us with the corresponding parsing of that word in a word tips display over the Browse window or in the Analysis window Analysis tab. However, the greater value of the morphology version is that it can be searched. If I right-click on a Greek word and choose Search on Lemma, I am actually searching on the morphology version. And the Command Line Versions button may change to reflect that I have searched on a morphology version. Also with the morphology version, I can very easily find all occurrences of particular types of word in a search from the command line. Let's say that I wish to search for all occurrences of indicative, aorist, passive verbs in the Greek New Testament. I'll clear the command line with the Escape key, and since I wish to search just the Greek New Testament, I'll switch to the BNM, which is the morphology version for the Greek New Testament. I type a period as my search control character, and then an asterisk, which is a wildcard. It's going to stand in for any lemma as a portion of my word in a morphology version. Then I need the @ sign, and notice that a morphology helper has opened below the command line. I can use the morphology helper to choose a part of speech with my mouse, or I can type that part of speech if I wish as well from the keyboard. So I've chosen a verb, and then we wish to search for all indicative, aorist, passive verbs. So next I'll choose I for indicative, A for aorist, and P for passive. I can hit enter at this point, but I can also enter a asterisk as a wildcard for any possible following codes. Then I hit enter. And now BibleWorks has searched for and found all the indicative, aorist, passive verbs in the Greek New Testament. Morphology versions, as valuable search tools in BibleWorks, are always based on Greek or Hebrew versions that are important for our understanding of Hebrew and Greek scripture. Thus you'll find morphology versions for the Targumim, the Septuagint, New Testament manuscripts, or in add-on modules like the Qumran Sectarian manuscripts, or the APNT New Testament Peshitta morphology. So when you wish to search for any form of a word, remember to use a morphology version as your search version. Type a period, then the lexical form of the word that you wish to search for, and hit enter. There is also an option to be able to use the morphology versions as a search version, but to not show them in the browse window. Go to Tools, Options, General and Flags, and click on the plus sign next to Browse Window Configuration Options. Uncheck the option to automatically make morphology versions display versions. Then click OK. Then if you go to View, choose Display Versions, and uncheck your morphology versions from the list of versions that display there, click OK to do so. And you can now conduct a search for a Greek lemma. I've typed in period agapao, then I hit enter. And the search is conducted, but the morphology version that I used as my search version does not display in the browse window. If you don't wish to use the option that I just showed you, you can also go to the Browse Window Options button, click on it, choose the option for Set Version Display Order, click on the Open button, and choose the morph.vdo version display order. That sets a version display order where the morphology versions will display at the bottom of the browse window. So they'll be relatively out of sight for your reading of text in the browse window.